This is everything you need to know in order to lose weight the right way. And I'm going to break it down into a couple simple steps so even you can understand to the simplest degree. Because we don't need to worry about what the best diet is, the best time of day to do training is, anything like that. We need the basics, we need to do them in the right order, we need to focus on that. So step one, really simple, calculate your calorie deficit. And even better, if you want me to do this for you, go to my Instagram, DM me the word CALC3, CalC3, and my automatic Instagram bot will actually calculate your calories for you. Extra bit of advice, underestimate the amount of activity you do. I can't tell you how many women I've seen use this calculator tell me they do 4 sets of 60-minute cardio per day, that they're super active at their jobs, when they're actually just walking around. Most people are lightly active, moderately sedentary. They sit down most of the day, they walk around a bit, and that's it. We're not talking about your 10K steps here. Underestimate to start with. Once we've got this, it's really simple. Then you've got to decide a way of tracking and actually measuring your food intake. That doesn't mean you have to track calories though. This is just a guide. And I'm going to try and make this as idiot-proof as possible, because basically nutrition is like a spectrum, okay? Not the autistic spectrum that I'm on, but it's a spectrum. Because like any good spectrum, you have two ends of the equation. You have the more extreme, the more intense, the more focused, and down here you have the less extreme, the easier, the kind of day-to-day sort of way of doing things. There's a bit of a special relationship here though, so let me do this. As you go to the right-hand side up here, it is more intense, which means it takes more effort, more stress, more pressure, and it doesn't work as well when you're super busy and really stressed and pissed off essentially. But in the same light, with it being more intense, you actually get results faster. You get results faster because this is more accurate. To summarize this end, fast results because it's more intense and it's more accurate. But all of this can only be sustained for a short period of time, usually 2 to 6 weeks. The reason being is because by the time you hit week 3, you're ready to go throw yourself out a fucking window. And that's kind of the opposite of what we're trying to achieve here, especially if you're on a 4 to 6 week cut, ready to go on holiday. So fast results, more intense, more accurate, but you can't do it for as long. Down this end, on the other hand, it's the complete opposite. So basically take everything up there, slower results, less intense, and less accurate. But like over there, short term, this can be done nearly every day. So I'm gonna write day to day. Fuck, I need more pens. Basically, you can keep doing this stuff every single day when life is stressful, when you've got the kids to deal with, when you've got your partner, when work's being a wanker, all of that sort of stuff. So that's what this end of the spectrum is more like. That end is more, we're going off on holiday, I need to get in the best shape possible as quick as I can, give me results quickly, please. This end, you have to sacrifice more. You have to not eat as many treats. You can't go out as much, you can't have as much fun. This end, there's a lot more flexibility, but because there's a lot more flexibility, you don't lose weight as fast. You might be maintaining more than anything. That's what we're trying to understand here. So I'm about to give you some of the ideas of what you can do on both ends. So let's start at the furthest point on this end. This is the one where you track every fucking thing that goes in your mouth, the bodybuilding approach. I don't really like it. People like to do it. So you track calories, you track protein, you track carbohydrates, you track fats, you track fiber, every single drop in your mouth. I'm just gonna call it macros, bro, because do you even track the macros, mate? That is considered the pinnacle. I never use this. I don't have any client who will ever need to use this. You do not need to track your carbohydrates and fats. You could do high carb, you could do low carb. You need a minimum amount of fat, roughly 20% of your daily calorie intake, to maintain healthy hormone production, but that's about it. So let's take a small step back away from there. So down here is the one I often use with my clients. So protein plus calories. And it does what it says on the tin. It's really simple. You just track your calories by using my calorie calculator, like I said, and then you track your protein. Realistically, protein can be a big target, okay? Most clients, if you really struggle with protein, start at getting 80 grams. Once you're getting 80 grams regularly, get 100 grams. After that, if you want a more fancy goal, 1.6 grams per kilo of your body weight. And because I can't do that maths, that would mean a 100 kilo lady would eat 106 grams of protein. Obviously, the smaller you are, the less protein you need. This one's still quite intense. It means you have to track most days. You're on MyFitnessPal all the time still. So look, I only do this usually in my 6-week challenge, and then I try to get people off of it eventually. But it's a great starting point in my opinion, because it again builds awareness, shows you what you're eating, shows what's in all of your meals, and it makes it easy to tweak and change, and you see results quite quickly still, as little as 2 weeks. Next, what I would consider is just to track either just protein or just calories. Me personally, I would probably just track protein, because if you just track protein, you can kind of change the rest of the meal by just basically telling people the types of foods they want on their plates and using hand sizing and hand portioning for this. So next one would just be protein only. I've changed the pen color because my black's deciding to have a fucking hissy fit. Oh yeah, protein only. Just track your protein intake. So like I said, 80 grams first, then 100 grams, and then 1.6 grams per kilo of your body weight. Really simple. Now we're going to do ones that don't involve any calorie tracking at all. Again, getting less accurate, but again, easier to start with if you're new to food tracking. So we're going to go with portion tracking first, or portion control. And this is really, really simple. All you're actually going to do in this is use your hand. And we're not using your hand for anything dirty this time. No, you're actually going to use your hand to actually kind of shape the size of stuff on your plate. Okay, really simple. You take a palm worth of protein, 1 to 2 palms worth of protein every single meal. So you look at a chicken leg, you put it up, it's roughly that size in your hand. Everyone's hand is in comparison to them. So basically, if you're a smaller person, you'll tend to have smaller hands, unless you're a fucking mutant and you have huge hands. But basically, palm, one size, 1 or 2 palms of protein per meal, a fist worth of carbohydrates. So you literally scoop it up, or a scoop of it, however you want to do it. A scoop of carbohydrates, so a scoop of rice, scoop of pasta, potatoes, that sort of thing. Don't take the piss and be like, oh, I'm stacking it up like you're doing your fucking holiday breakfast when it's stacked up this high. No, just use your hand, be sensible, put it on your plate. Anything like fats, like so oils, avocados, nuts, it's usually a thumb's amount, so a thumb's worth. Okay, so it's not actually that much, but again, it's limiting. I would typically go with 2 palmfuls of protein, at least 1 cupful of carbs, and at least 1 thumb's worth of fats. Okay, really, really simple way of looking at it. Okay, over time you can experiment with adding maybe half a portion more carbohydrates and stuff like that, but you start off with this and build each meal out accordingly, so you get each food group in important ways, but you also have, you're reshaping the amounts on your plate. So you used to maybe have 2 to 3 handfuls of carbs, now you're only having 1 handful of carbs. You used to maybe have hardly any protein, now you've got 1 to 2 handfuls of protein. That's the way this method works. Again, everything's a little bit different. You might have higher fat meats, like 15% meat versus 5% meat. That's where it loses its accuracy. But if you're buying lean meats and stuff like that, this method can be really, really useful. The next one is actually a popular one I use. I got it from a conference a few years ago. And basically the guy said to take 2 weekdays and 1 weekend day and do a food diary, but with your phone. All that means is you take a photo of every meal you have. Every meal, every snack, every nibble you have, just literally put your hand next to it, take a photo of it and send it to your coach. It's actually a really simple way of doing things. So again, let's call it photo diary. Because I usually did this with people when they don't want to track. And actually, when they put their hand next to it, you can easily see as a coach that like they've got half their plate full of rice and only a wee corner of protein and hardly any veggies in the plate. This is actually really easy to be like, right, cut that in half, add more of that, add more of that. That should take up this portion of your plate. It's a really simple way of doing it. I have a little PDF if you want me to send that across to you. So DM me the word PDF below and I can send that over to you, basically showing you how to do hand portion controls, basically showing you how to use a photo diary. It's really, really simple. So as you can see, we've already got 5 different methods that aren't basically just tracking your macros essentially. And then you get down to here, down the end. This is the least accurate, but this is kind of like what I do because I've spent years tracking. When you spend years tracking, what you're actually meant to do is be able to come further down this end of the scale. So you don't need to be doing that all year round. There is no need to be doing this for more than, I reckon, 1 to 2 months of the year. Because that's about the time you're getting in shape for your holidays, getting in shape for a Christmas do, getting in shape for whatever you want to do. So this, I'm going to call it intuitive eating. It sounds a bit bullshit in my opinion. So intuitive eating, because I can't spell, or my handwriting's terrible. Intuitive eating. So basically, I have just reduced portion sizes based on what I used to do. I was more active a few months back when I was pushing trolleys at Tesco's. So I was eating way more bread, way more sandwiches, way more pasta, way more rice, lots of peanut butter, all that stuff. Now I'm using spray oil instead of pouring oil again. I'm only having 1 slice of toast at my lunch. I'm having a breakfast that's lower in calories rather than trying to add extra bits of everything on top of it. Intuitive eating. Eating based on hunger signals, trying to deal with hunger. And if it gets to a point where you're extremely hungry, then you allow yourself to eat something. But you're sticking to something like a food structure of like breakfast, lunch, dinner, and 1 snack. Again, keeping similar meals in at your breakfast and your lunch, maybe changing something at dinner, and as easy as that. Basically, your job is to figure out your deficit, decide a method of making a deficit happen, and then assess how the progress is going. And this is where a lot of you go wrong. So I'm going to do this just below here, track and adjust. So this is going to be daily weigh-ins, monthly or bi-weekly measures, and then monthly photos. They're the main things I would track to start with. The weight is the most important at the start. It becomes less important the more weight you lose, and I don't think people actually appreciate that. So basically, most of you, when you see the scales don't move for 2 to 3 days, you shit the bed and you give up, or you try something different, and then you end up getting no results because you didn't do what you were doing before that was probably working. You just didn't have the time in it to actually see the changes. or 2, you try something else that doesn't actually fucking work. But basically, do you know what I actually tell my clients? If your scales every single day, so you track it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, for 2 weeks, all the way, every week, every day of the week for 2 weeks, right? First thing in the morning, get up, go for a piss, go for whatever you need to do in the morning. You've not eaten a single thing, you've not drank a single thing, get on the scales, okay? You look at your lowest weight every week, you look at your average weight across the week. If you get no new low or no new average weight in 2 weeks, okay, you then can drop your calories or make an adjustment on here. So again, reduce the portion, drop your calories by 100 or 50 calories or something like that. That's the only time you do it. Most people will do stupid shit like this 3 days after without the scales moving. You need to give yourself time for the program to breathe. Fat loss does not take 3 weeks to happen because you lot are so used to doing things fast, like when you do Slim Worlds and all these other diets, right? And losing 10 pounds in 2 weeks, right? But if I told you you can lose a pound a week, right, for half a year, 26 pounds, right? That's 2 stone nearly, right? Versus the 10 pound you lost in 2 weeks and then you gave up at 4 weeks because it slowed down, right? You actually lose more weight and be in a far better condition in terms of your hunger levels. You wouldn't be constantly thinking about food. You wouldn't be weak as piss. You'd be able to recover. You'd be sleeping well. Your hormones wouldn't be fucked. You wouldn't have your period messed up. All of these different things. And you probably wouldn't have lost half the fucking money in the first place. So have some patience. I know this shit sucks, but this is what coaching actually does. Coaching is actually designed to help you stay in this cycle of kind of like stress and struggle long enough to get the results your efforts deserve. You might have been perfect all week. Unfortunately, you might have to be perfect. I wouldn't say you have to be perfect. You might have to do well for multiple weeks to see a result actually happen. It's why you need a coach to lean into. You didn't put the weight on in 3 weeks. You're not going to lose it all in 3 weeks. The weight crept up on you, like most of you said. So the idea is that it took multiple years for you to put multiple stones on, multiple kilos on. It's going to take a long time to undo it as well. Give yourself that permission to take your time. You're going to be here for a long while as long as you look after your body. I know this is a lot of information, but like I said, simplify it. My calorie calculator Instagram, calc-free, DM me that word, you'll get that done for free. Decide a method. More intense, fast results, more accurate, short-term use though. Down here, slower results, less intense, less accurate. You can do this day to day for the rest of your life. Track, track, track. The measures, I forgot to mention them. The whole point of these is to show you that when the weight slows down, and especially once you lose more weight, the body shape will change far more. Pairing this with photos will show you that even more. Drop in dress sizes, your waist shrinking, your arms and your legs will come later on. They'll start going in. And if you're still telling me about that bit of belly fat you've got on your tummy since the menopause, that will take time. It'll be stubborn, but if you keep doing this stuff, it'll eventually work. This is some of the stuff that I will do with you when you work with me in one-to-one coaching. So hopefully as part of this program, you see some of the methods, try these yourself. Any questions, let me know. I'll help you out. But hopefully this helped.